You click record here and get started. So it's great to see everybody on the call this evening. Excited to share with you and have some incredible speakers sharing this evening to bring lots of value to this team. I am just going to host a call. I'm actually not a mum. I'm a dog mum, but I'm not a mum, but I will be a mum one day, fingers crossed. And I just love how empowering this business is for mums. And I love seeing, obviously, Joss's mum, Lauren, in this business and what it's done for their family on a whole, and just how empowering that is. And has changed their family's life around, and just how we can really help mums in this business become the best version of themselves and work this around their kids and never miss out on magic moments. And I'm sure Jacque and Lee tonight are going to share some incredible value with the team on how they do this. So I'm going to pass it over to Jacque first, and just a little synopsis of her, but she's going to share her own story. She is a mum to 3 kids under 6, with 2 of those full-time, and has been with the business 4.5 years. So lots of busyness, I'm sure, in your house. And yeah, if you could just share with us some aspects of how you build this business and what works for you, that would be amazing.
Thank you so much, Hun. So like Danielle said, I am Jacque and have been with Juice Plus for 4.5 years. I started when my first baby was 15 months old, and I was just, well, I've got 2 home and they're going to interrupt. So thank goodness this is all about the mums. So I started when my first was 15 months old, and I was a school teacher in my previous life, and just wanted to continue to be home with my daughter, my one daughter at the time, and just always be that stay-at-home mum who wasn't missing out on the school adventures and school drop-off and pick-up and that sort of thing. My first goal was really not sexy at all. It was just to pay my grocery bill, and that would make me feel like I had accomplished something, and it would give me that light at the end of the tunnel that maybe I was onto something that could change our life. Fast forward 4.5 years, we have Jed and Evie who've joined the party, and they are 17 months apart. Evie is almost 2, our youngest, and she was our surprise baby. But I don't know what's happened in the last years. I actually pretty sure I've been a zombie for that whole time, and thank God for Juice Plus. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have survived that. I have done everything. I built an NMD business with 2 kids under like 4, and I hit NMD when Jed was about 8 months old. So for my 30th birthday present, ticked off NMD, and that was all done in those stolen moments of motherhood. And this year we have given my husband the year off so he can focus on music, as he's a really talented musician. She's okay, she can join us. And he can give that the time and space that it needs to get it off the ground, which has been really cool to have him home, especially as mum, as you know, those night times, the witching hour is crazy, and the night times can kind of be a little bit stressful, so it's cool to have somebody else doing the dinner time routine. So my tips, I guess, is mainly around time chunking. Kids are very needy, and we can often let that be our excuse for not focusing on our business. But what I love is that you can do this with them, on your lap, as we are now. I've done many a welcome Zooms or hosted events while still breastfeeding, so people could only see my head, because that was my choice to do, right? I've never had to ask for maternity leave for my second 2, because this has been my gig. So yeah, time chunking is a lifesaver. Sorry, dude. Just wait. It means, I don't feel like super mum today, Lou. It just means that they get some time, and then if you just have, say, half an hour, often it works. And if you just do half an hour on your business, or even if half an hour is too much because they're really little like these guys, and it's just a 15-minute chunk. maybe that 15-minute chunk is while you're in the car at school pickup if you've got older kids, or it's while you're sitting in the car before you go in and get the groceries. You find those stolen moments when everyone is happy, content, and chilled, and you can get in a little bit of work then. Sleep time is great. I know often you may be exhausted if you have really young ones and want to rest and chill then. So my tip would be just do 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the beginning of your children's nap time if they are still napping, and then you can rest for the rest of it. Don't drink that coffee. You have that smoothie. We will never get sleep then. No, this one's yours on. And so my other tip would be just around really living the mission and owning this stage of life, right? It is crazy when you're in the trenches of motherhood. We very often lose our confidence, we lose our sense of purpose and sense. And I think when we are living what I call the business mission, then we stay a little truer to ourselves. So that for me means working on myself every day, whether it's physically, eating right, following the programs, or whether it is just, whether it's going for a walk and listening to podcasts and working on this part as well, I think is really, really important. When you are sharing that, he wants to be let it go and he can't find his let it go cape, so it's the end of the world right now. So I think when you are conscious of that and you're really focusing on how you can be improving your mindset and just keeping that sanity and keeping somewhat inspired, then you're going to show up a little bit more consistently in your business. And I know this stage of life is really tough. But if you can just do one thing, if it's one, I just had a coaching call with Celine Egan, and you guys probably know who that is because she's amazing. She's our mama bear here in Australia, and that was her tip to me. Just remember one thing a day, just one new conversation a day, one business reach out a day, one team check-in. When those days are really crazy and you haven't slept the night before, you will feel so much more accomplished if you can just do one thing. Just saw a question pop up.
This is Isaiah jumping on a trampoline. Hi, Kim, and today we're going to jump on a trampoline. I'm so excited.
Okay, so I don't actually do a lot, Kimberly, in person. I'm a hermit, so everything happens at home, and that's why I love my business, is that I can do it all from home. You know, I haven't recently, mothers groups and that sort of thing, but it's really just in those situations about making those new friends, right? And then adding them and connecting with them at a later date when you can kind of seem slightly professional and slightly sane because you're not being interrupted every 3 seconds from a 3-year-old. And then you can build that connection a little bit better when you're not in that social situation. So for me, social situations are about collecting friends with no intention and no expectation, but to see where the relationship will go and how it will foster down the track. So that for me is probably it. Lee's going to have some other kick-ass suggestions for you, and I hope that you got some value, if not just to see that you can do this with crazy kids everywhere. Thank you so much for having me, ladies.
Thank you so much for joining us. I love how you just show how anybody can do this, and that you don't have to wait until everything's perfect until you do the call, or until you show up, and how you can just do it around life. I think that that's so empowering and such a good lesson to just show people, because I think a lot of people do wait until things are perfect and everyone's asleep and you look good and everything's in alignment, and you just have to do it when you're ready, right? You just have to do it through life. So that's just an empowering story in itself. So next we have Lee sharing with us. So Lee is also from Australia. She is a mum of 2 and has been with Juice Plus for 3.5 years, and she loves Wonder Woman and creating epic adventures. I love that you added that in there. It's very important to get that out there. So she's going to share some stories with us and tips for us as another mother. Oh wait, I think I'm unmuting you and you're unmuting yourself. You can unmute yourself. There we go.
How are you? Hats off to you, Jack. You are totally a super mum. I don't know if I could cope with all those kids at home that drive me nuts. But so a little bit about my story. I'm an NMD and I've been with Juice Plus Company for just over 3.5 years now. And just going back before I started in this, I've worked in corporate IT for about 27 years, and I'm also a qualified beauty therapist as well. So back then, life was totally different. I had a very, very different lifestyle back then when I was in corporate. I obviously had no kids back then. I loved my job. I loved the community and being around people. And I had heaps of flexibility to travel because I absolutely love traveling. And in both of those jobs that I was doing in beauty therapy and in corporate, I was working super long hours, really long hours. And I just knew that in my heart that it wasn't something that I could do when I finally did have a family. So that's why I studied to become a beauty therapist as well, so that I could do something from home. So then I met my husband, and really quickly we got married, we had babies, we bought a house, and I became this stay-at-home mum living on my husband's income. And, you know, like, it was actually more expensive over here. I don't know what it's like in the US, but it was more expensive for me to actually go back to work than it was for me to stay at home and look after the kids, which is crazy. So like, as much as I love being a stay-at-home mum, when, you know, I lost myself, I just lost myself in that whole process of, you know, Groundhog Day and losing my independence and just sitting around without any drive or passion for doing anything else, which I had in my career. So I ended up getting really run down. I was 99 kilos and I just felt like this zombie mum who was just saying no to absolutely everything because we couldn't afford it. So I had all the free time. That was really cool. But, you know, when you don't have that vision of what you want life to look like, I wasn't working on anything to actually improve it. So I had this career before I had kids where I was so successful, but then when I was a mum, I'd just sit on the lounge sometimes for like 3 weeks at a time and just become so involved in reality TV and other people's dreams and what they're doing in their life that I had nothing to work towards myself. So it caused a lot of financial pressures in our relationship and our marriage. And I made the decision to leave him after about 4 years of being on that single income. And then I went to a more challenging situation of living on a single parent pension on my own with 2 kids. And in Australia, I don't know how much it is in the US, but I was on about $440 a week. So conversion wise, it's not actually very much to live on with 2 kids. So anyone who loves shopping, I love shopping. There was no shopping. So I had 6 years of no travel, no adventure, and no doing the things that I really loved. But what I know is that there's always a pivot moment. And the pivot moment is that time when everything completely can change for you. And it was the one moment that I really just decided that I was more than enough to go and work on myself and to create some goals and just go and really decide in investing in my own health, getting fitter and healthier, and just getting out of this crappy situation that I was in. So this little part-time income, I only started in the beginning just to earn a little part-time income. Over the last 3.5 years, we've set some amazing goals. Lauren's helped with that actually, with vision boards and really just getting clear on what some of our family goals are that we could work towards. Holidays are definitely one of my favorite things to do, and like totally in my wildest dreams, I never ever thought that I would have been able to go to the US for 4 weeks as a single mum on a pension. It's crazy. And my big lifelong dream was to take the kids to see the snow and to Disneyland. And we just done all of that at Christmas time. And it's so cool. It brings tears to my eyes sometimes watching their little videos of them creating their own little vision. Because somebody once said to me not long ago, kids have got these dreams now, and if you don't go and allow them to create it, you lose that moment. So I'm like, my kids want to go to Disneyland. I'm taking them to Disneyland, and this business has allowed us to do that. So it's been super, super rewarding. Like one of the biggest areas that I've really been rewarded in is my own self-belief, and just really finding that community of people that are so like-minded and supportive, and you know, they really help you step into some of those goals and dreams and aspirations that you maybe have lost being a mum. So that's a bit about my story. Can't wait for more epic adventures to come along. But some of my tips, they wanted me to share some tips around some of the things that I've implemented over the last 3.5 years. And self-love was one of the biggest things for me. I was going to talk a little bit about customer care, but I felt today that this was so much more impactful for me over the last 3 years, was really coming from a place where I could love myself, because until I did that, I wasn't able to build relationships and allow new people to come in. I wasn't able to serve them on a higher level. And I've done quite a fair bit of training, like, you know, seminars and personal growth and that kind of stuff. And what I know is what you constantly focus on, you will always find a way there. Always. I love that saying. So some of the things that I've done to keep myself inspired and to really just plug in every day, I'm a visual person. So that's why I love Lauren's vision boards. But some other things that I do, which maybe you want to take some notes and maybe do this yourself over time. On my mirror at home, I really come back to a place of how could I love myself and what some of the things that I could tell myself every day. And I'll read some of them out for you. I live a life filled with love. I have a beautiful, fun, caring family. I live a life full of energy and vitality. I move each day and dance. I have a beautiful life full of abundance, and I live in a beautiful state each and every day. So I read those to myself every single day. I see them in front of me when I wake up in the morning. I see them in front of me when I go to bed at nighttime. And I've also got 3 questions that I ask myself in the morning. And that's, what do I love about myself? And even though I'm not a big journaler, but I can still ask myself the question and tell myself the answer. So it's, what do I love about myself? What am I grateful for today? And who can I serve today? And I not only ask that to myself, but I also ask that to my kids when I pick them up in the car on the way home too. And that's really cool. And in the evening, I ask myself, what was special about today? What excited me about today? And what was really cool about today? And each one of them just gives me different answers. And then, you know, doing a lot of the personal development seminars, I've really gotten clear on what my top 4 one-year goals are that I can really write down. And one thing I really encourage you guys to do, and Lorian taught me this, Lorian's my upline, is to write out a list of your 100 reasons why. Like, why are you doing this? And why is it a must? Because you have to create the must. You know, is it to help and inspire people to live their best life? Is it to take your kids to Disneyland? Is it to, you know, go to epic seminars, to step up, to help other women inspire their best life? But also write down a list of what is it actually going to cost you if you don't make it work? Because these are really powerful to read over, because some of these are, for me, you know, struggling financially, stressing about having kids in vacation care every day, not having as many choices as we do right now. But some of the biggest ones are missing their milestones, you know, being able to go to their school activities and not having to budget and say no for things like that. So I've got little lists in my phone, and every time I think of something, I'm always just going and adding to it. There's also a top 500 where you can write down 500 reasons why you're doing this and always come back to that. And then I transfer them onto my vision board as well. So hopefully you got some value out of that. That's it.
That was amazing. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I love these questions. I love asking yourself questions. I think that's so powerful. And I love how you are like, I'm not a journaling person. And I love that, because I feel like everybody like is like, you should journal everything. But if that's not your way of doing it, then that's great. Like, you have to find your own way of like figuring all of that out. It's so empowering. I have a question for you actually. If you're a mum and like, let's say you're a mum and like let's say it's you and you're working with another mum on your team, like, how do you go about finding time, like, for both of you? Like, do you find that that's ever a problem of like schedules like clashing or anything like that? Or like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, so I've got a pretty busy schedule, and I like to always chunk in my time for me first. My biggest thing over the last year was self-love, and if you're not doing the things that light you up, you're never going to be able to show up for your team no matter how much time you've got. And mine is always gym time. I love going to the gym, and it's, you know, one of my high values is around health, so you have to do the things that you love. So I block out that time. I use a little app called Calendly, which is really cool. It's free. And I just send links out to my team. They book in their own times. They're half-hour blocks of time. Sometimes I talk longer because I like to chat. But I don't have to worry about trying to figure out when I can schedule people in. I use it with my potentials. I use it with my 3-way calls, and I use it with my team. And they just literally book in their own time, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week. It sends out automated reminders for them. It's the best thing. I'm really going to send it to my friends to ask them to book in their time. See you in 3 months. Here's my calendar link. You can literally then chunk out your times, like what Jackie was talking about. You know, I've got all of my events booked out for the whole year. So I know that I want to go to Date with Destiny. I want to go to we've got 3 major conferences here in Australia. And as a single mum, I have to book it in long term. So when you can have your calendar scheduled out, plan out all the events that you want to be able to go to for the next year, and then block out your time for when you're going to do your business. Is it half an hour a day? Is it 2 hours a day? But do your big rocks first. Your personal time, your family time, when are you going to do the groceries, and when are you going to have personal time, and all of that kind of stuff. You can chunk that in.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Lauren always says that, like, if you showed her like your calendar, she'll tell you like how successful you're going to be, and that you should like make sure that your calendar is so organized, because that's going to help you stay on top of things. I also use Calendly, and I think it's so good because you're like not having to work out time zones either. Like it automatically transfers. Like it's literally a savior. And it just goes straight in your calendar. Yeah, if you don't have that, you should definitely look into that. It's free as well. So yeah, like, why not? That's awesome. Well, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to give like 5 minutes to, if anyone has like maybe a question. Feel free to unmute yourself. What's the app again? It's called Calendly. Oh, yeah, there you go. Calendly. Amazing. Okay. Anyone have a question? Are we good? I feel like you added lots of value. Andreas, do you have a question? Do you want to unmute yourself?
I absolutely loved. I mean, it's funny that I think it's almost like a universal theme that's going on. How you're talking about, you have to first feed the inside to be able to give on to others. In regards to the list that you make, and I loved also, because usually what I do is, I'll be very succinct. Usually what I do is I have all this, like, I'm like, yay, great. I write it down, and then it kind of fades away as far as like it's information that it's kind of like lost. How do you keep track of all the lists, of all the affirmations? Is it something that you revisit every day? Is that part of your DMO? Or is it something that you put on your phone and you kind of like touch upon it in a methodical way?
Yeah, so I've got heaps of different ways that I do it. And for me, I like to have things in front of me all the time. So at Date with Destiny, I wrote out all of my values and what my power statements were. But then I've also got on my phone, if I can get it up, I've got my primary questions on my phone that I see them all the time. So, every time I turn my phone on, it says, how can I appreciate even more the love and connection in every moment? And some of my biggest power values over the last probably 2.5 years was feeling what did I need to feel to bring in to, to get where I needed to be. And I looked at people that were in the business that had things that I, you know, attributes and qualities that I wanted to bring in. I call it superhero yourself. So I looked at Linda Evenden, and I could see her up on stage and, you know, doing her speeches, and you look at all the beautiful people over there that do their NMD speeches and the top leaders. And I kind of picked out a couple of qualities in her that I felt that I wanted to bring in me too. And that was strength and courage and determination were my biggest ones. And then I thought, how can I bring that in more? I can put it on my vision board. I can write out things of, you know, what are the little things that I could do every day to feel more strength and more courage? And, you know, was it to do a live, or what else did I write down? Loads of different things. I've got a whole Wonder Woman cabinet here, which represents to me strength and courage and determination. So every time I look at all my Wonder Woman collection, I'm like, oh yes, I'm powerful today. And it kind of ticks things off in your brain to go, oh yeah, like I feel more powerful and I feel more connected, and I can really come back to loving myself to be able to help other people. So you can put them on your fridge. Another person, I think it was Kira, was saying that she writes out her I am statements and then go and record yourself on your phone on a voice recorder and listen to yourself in the car and say your power statements out loud all the time. I am love, I am passion, I am strength, I am determined. And when you can say that out loud like 10 times, you feel so much more powerful to then go and be more confident on a live, or be more confident sharing your message with other people, or doing a 3-way call. It's really powerful.
That's amazing. I love that. I've never done like the voice recording. So cool. It's like kind of like figuring out like who's the highest version of yourself, and then just starting like creating that for yourself, like one step at a time. That's so cool. Okay, well, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening. We really value you, and for adding all of that value to us. I'm sure the team got so much out of this. I know I did as well. And I just think that it's cool for anybody to learn from anybody, whether it's not yourself, like Andreas learning from a mom, like I'm learning from moms, like, because there's so many different people in our business, and you can learn, and those people are going to come into your business. So just learning and educating yourself is so empowering. So thank you so much, Jackie and Lee, for sharing with us. And it was great to see everyone's faces on the call this evening. So I hope you have an amazing end of month. Make it happen. Go and crush your goals. And we will see you next Monday. Good night. Or good day.